Modern problems require modern solutions. You must have seen this meme on n number of occasions. Let me tell you, this is not just a funny meme. This meme has a greater message behind it. The meme tells us to remain ready to upgrade ourselves or be ready to face the wrath of extinction. Institutions built by humans are not different. Their foundational values should have a space for technological upgradation according to the evolving times. Unfortunately, Indian institutions have been too slow to adapt to changes. The reason behind this is one and only bureaucracy. More than required checks and balances are not suitable for long-term sustainability. Slow bureaucracy has its impact on other sectors as well. After all, it is the bureaucracy that has the ultimate decisive power. If top brass is corroded, it will hurt every branch, even if it is remotely dependent on it. So it was not a surprise when even after 6 decades of independence, we relied on foreign countries for our defense capabilities. Red tape in state-run defense units was the main reason behind it. But things have changed for the better in the last 8 years. The Indian Armed Forces are one of the most technologically sophisticated forces in the world, and the Air Force is leading the contingent in this regard. Hi and welcome to TFIPost. I'm your host Apurva. If you're watching us on YouTube, please subscribe and press the bell icon to get all the latest updates. And if you're watching us on Facebook, do like, share and subscribe to the page. Let's begin with the video report. The Modi government is working like there is no tomorrow. It seems as if it has been traumatized by the last nearly 7 decades of horrendous government malfunctioning. Files which have been circulating in Delhi for years and now getting sanctioned within weeks after scrutiny. The latest in the list is the approval of a new branch in the Indian Air Force. Surely the disaster of the 1962 war has a lot to do with it. On the 90th Air Force Day, Indians were in for a pleasant surprise. Air Chief Marshal Vivek Ram Chaudhary announced that there will be a separate branch for handling the combat challenges of the IAF. The branch is named as Weapon System Branch. The Modi government has made the process easier by quickly approving the much-needed proposal. It is the first branch which IAF will be operationalizing, keeping in mind India's interests only. Earlier established 3 branches were brought in by the British for their own needs. Though it is true that the IAF continued with them even after independence, since they were essential for our own needs. Announcing the grand arrival of the WSB, Air Chief Marshal said, and I quote, "On this historic occasion, it is my privilege to announce that the government has approved the creation of a weapons system branch for officers in the IAF. This is the first time since independence that a new operational branch is being created. The creation of this new branch will save Rs 3,400 crores due to reduced expenditures on flight training." But the larger question is, why did the IAF need to introduce a new branch at this crucial juncture of time? I mean, we are constantly threatened by Pakistan and China from both the sides. Any kind of delay or even a haphazard implementation could have devastating results. Moreover, we already have 3 highly efficient branches, namely ground duty, technical and flying. To better manage operations, all 3 branches have been divided into 3 substreams. The ground duty branch takes care of administration, accounts, logistics, education and meteorology. On the other hand, the technical branch takes care of the mechanical and electronic aspects of the IAF. The technical branch is the main support system of the flying branch, which handles fighters, transports and helicopters. But flying branch cannot do everything on its own. After all, pilots can only fly an aircraft, and their core competence is handling the weapons on board. This works only when an aircraft is sent to fight internal enemies. When it comes to fighting between 2 countries, the pilot can't handle too many things at once, since he or she has to take care of communicating developments to command centers as well. The problem has been existing for decades now, but its intensity was felt when the Modi government started to modernize the armed forces on a war footing. More and more technologically sophisticated weapon systems have been introduced into the armory of the Indian Air Force. In the last few years, we have seen the inductions of 4.5 generation fighters, AWACS, AEW&C and flight refueling aircraft. The IAF has also approved indigenous development of 6 AEW&C Mk2 aircraft. Acquisition of Star UAVs, counter-UAS technology, and network strengthening devices is also on the cards. Naturally, it will require many more training hours, and flying officers will be required to engage in more gruesome training with an increase in both time and training hardship. Given the fact that there is an air of uncertainty around the success of the Agniveer scheme, a dedicated branch was required. And frankly, it is not that we did not have dedicated manpower to handle complex weapons in aircraft. We already have a cadre of officers. They are called the Weapon System Operators. Colloquially, they are called WSOs. WSOs are fighting officers responsible for all air operations and weapon systems of a military aircraft. A WSO maintains aircraft systems while riding behind the pilot. Remember, Flying Officer Tejasvi Rangarao. She was in the news last month for being the first Indian woman to fly the WSO on Sukhoi 30 fighter aircraft. Coming back to the story, the role of WSOs has evolved over time. Apart from handling drones, twin and multi-crew aircraft, a WSO should be able to coordinate with intelligence gathering operations as well. In today's times, it is not enough to be specialized in just the handling of weapons. Keeping these challenges in mind, the Indian Air Force has created 4 substreams under the branch. These substreams are named Flying, Remote Intelligence and Surface. As the name suggests, Flying Stream will handle twin-seat and multi-crew aircraft systems operators. The remote sub-branch of WSB will handle those flights which do not require pilots. It is assumed that the establishment of the remote substream is an indication of the IAF's plan to focus on drone-driven warfare in the future contingencies. Both of these substreams will get precise information from intelligence, the third substream under WSP. Officers under this cadre will include image intelligence analysts, information warfare specialists, and signal intelligence operators for remotely piloted aircraft and space-based systems. They will analyze information from various sources and will guide WSOs regarding the precise geographical location of the target. At the most minute level of handling this stuff will be surface stream officers, commanders and operators for surface-to-air guided weapons and surface-to-surface missiles will handle the missiles and similar weapon systems. With the induction of these new streams, the Indian Air Force has now 14 streams operating under 4 branches. This is in line with the Modi government's emphasis on efficiency rather than increasing manpower. Minimum government, maximum governance has always been the theme of the current executive. People at the top have seen the disastrous consequences of not abiding by this dictum during the 1962 war. In that war, the Indian Air Force was battle ready to take on the Chinese PLAAF. The IAF had also offered to bomb enemy targets in western Tibet, bordering Ladakh. But too many debates and deliberations, compounded by the fear of the PLAAF among civilized people, led to the Air Force not carrying out its desired operations. Resultantly, India suffered a historically humiliating defeat in the war. If the Air Force had intervened and handled operations according to its own capabilities, the results would have been something different. So different that Pakistan would not have dared to target us in 1965. Things have not changed much with respect to both of our neighbors. In 1962 as well as 2020, Daulat Beg Oldie, Galwan and Hot Springs were threatened. In fact, China has joined forces with Pakistan to threaten India. In terms of army capabilities, we are already superior to both the countries. There are very few chances of all three engaging in naval combat because the PLAN has never dared to challenge us in the sea, while the Pakistani Navy is still recovering from the events of 1971. Air power is the only one in which India can be challenged. The legacy of outdated aircraft is still haunting us. We have been modernizing but have not been too vocal about it. Establishment of a new branch will act as a deterrent element for our adversaries.